Good afternoon, everybody. I know it's getting on that time in the afternoon, and I know how we get sitting back there, so I'm only going to talk about 40 seconds. But I got to tell you about a program that we became involved with, and I know all of us have our community programs, and we all need to have those. But I've got a friend here who's going to give you a short little presentation on this program. It's called GTO, and if you've never heard of it and you're not utilizing it, then please listen. It is a fabulous program. GTO stands for Growth Through Opportunity, and if you can imagine your community when they see 4 or 5 special needs individuals dressed up in uniforms that are hanging out with your deputies in your department, or in our case, we've expanded our program to where they spend a day with us at the sheriff's office. They report in every day to the sheriff's office. They spend one of their 4-day work week with us, and they spend an hour every day in our gym. And then the other 3 days, they go to one day's fire department, one day is Radford University Police Department, one day is Blacksburg Police Department, and after about 4 months, they graduate. And if you could see the change in these people from the time they come to us to the time they leave, it is all inspiring. And it has done more for our deputies than it's ever done for these individuals going through the course. It's a fabulous program. The community is just, they can't get enough of this stuff. And the goal is to get these individuals jobs when they're done, thus the gym every day. And they get in shape. They meet all the first responders. They learn to love them, and the first responders are just all over these folks. So without talking too long, I want to make sure that I introduce Travis Akins. Travis is a Roanoke City retired police officer. Travis had a couple he had already had the program underway and had done fabulous things in Roanoke City. He had a couple agencies on board on the east side of Roanoke, but he came to me, so he was looking to have a larger agency on the southwest side of Roanoke, and I couldn't be any happier that we did it. And one last thing, the first one we did, I needed $10,000 to get it going, and I went to someone who I knew had those kinds of means, and she wrote a check to establish the program for us. The good thing for you guys is it won't cost you or your agencies a dime from this point on if you decide to get involved. So thanks for hearing me out, and Travis.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, appreciate you. Good afternoon, everybody. We're only going to be here about 4 or 5 hours, so y'all can just relax. Now, Sheriff was able to get us on the agenda. Mr. Jones, I appreciate you. We asked for about 115 minutes, and Hank said, what about 15? I said, well, I got to drive 5 hours. He said, well, talk fast. So I drove 5 hours today to talk to you guys for 15 very quick minutes, and I'm driving 5 hours back home. And why would I do that? Because it's worth it. You guys are worth it. Your agencies are worth it. The safety of all of your officers are worth it. And kids like my own very son with special needs is worth it. So some of you guys might even take my class. I taught for DCJS for a multitude of years while being a law enforcement officer, and we developed disabilities awareness training throughout Virginia and critical autism training, and we taught at a lot of your agencies. And it was pretty good. It was pretty cool. We had a good time, and your officers learned a lot. But honestly, it wasn't enough. It's one thing for you to take a class and you learn, and then you go back home and you say, you know, I'm going to do this and that with that information while you're at a conference, but life happens. Then you get back home, and then, we don't really do anything, and I'm guilty as charged. I said, you know what, so we need to do more. So out of that classroom component, we developed the Growth Through Opportunity training program. So it's a hands-on training program. You guys, can we hit that next slide? Where are we at here, Mr. Jones? I'm gonna go back one. So growth through opportunity is exactly that. It's mutually beneficial for all of your deputies as well as the individuals with varying special needs, not in my community, but in your community. And if you know anything about this population of special needs that are in my family, potentially in your own family, potentially in your neighbors or folks that you go to church with, or your own deputies' families, by the way, because if you know anything about autism, for example, it's now 1 in every 68 children born are now born to autism. So that's quite a bit. And it's 1% of the United States population. So honestly, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of individuals that are really not doing all that much after they graduate high school. And knowing that half of all police-involved shootings are now involving half of them, individuals with varying disabilities, I wanted to do more. So we created this program, and it's truly been unbelievable. To be quite honest with you, as always, I didn't even have a clue how successful it was going to be. I actually created this program for my own son, because my own son always looked up to Daddy, and hopefully he always will, wearing my uniform, and he always wanted to be like me. And I told my wife, I said, this is breaking my heart, because that's probably never going to happen. He has a very rare neurological disorder, and it's probably not going to happen. I said, but you know what? So much more can happen. And all these officers, they need to know how to have positive interactions and relations with those with autism and Down syndrome and cerebral palsy and lots of different other intellectual disabilities. Because let's be honest, most of us don't, it's not that we don't care, we just don't have that training. It's not that we don't care, we just don't know what to do. So we created this program for all of us, for all the first responders, as well as for a lot of these individuals that are young adults in your community. That way they can learn. So what we did is we created uniforms so they can look the part, feel the part, act the part. And it's a great way for them to have cultural assimilation and do something really, really cool, like be with you, who, by the way, are their idols. You are their heroes. And these young men and women have grown up in wheelchairs and living with their disabilities. They're absolutely on point, knowing that they're not going to be you. They're never going to be able to wear your awesome uniform. They're never going to be able to be a first responder. Well, guess what? Now they can have their own role with the GTO program. And it's been incredibly heartwarming. So what do? So what we do, like Sheriff Parton said, of no cost to you. Sheriff Staten, has been any cost to you? Sheriff, anybody in here I partner with? So here's the thing. We partner with 21 agencies right now, 3 universities to include Virginia Tech, Radford University, Liberty University, and 6 different sheriffs, which is amazing. And what we want to do is, the reason why I drove 5 hours is because we want to partner with you of no cost to you. Nor do we tie up your manpower. Do we, Sheriff? Sheriff, have I ever tied up your manpower? So we bring our own staff in to oversee the group, and we do this for 16 weeks inside your agency. And we work as special bailiffs in the courtroom. We work in the courtrooms, in the courthouses, in the jail kitchen. We work inside the sheriff's office doing a variety of assignments, utilizing your facility as that training ground to teach job, life, and social skills for all these individuals with special needs, and they get to do it in a super cool way like never before. So we do this over 16 weeks. We operate with our own staff, again, of no cost and no manpower issues for you guys. We do this for 4 days a week. We go from 9 to 2, and our staff oversees all of it. So when duty calls, your first responders have to rock and roll like I did for years, that's what you do. You take off. So we don't tie you down at all. And that's one of the reasons I think it's been really successful, is knowing the key elements that we all need for your agency to thrive and succeed, so we're not just another community policing program, or not just another program that ties up your on-duty manpower. So we do this over the course of 16 weeks, and how successful you guys think it's been? Barry? What if I told you We have a 100% graduation rate and a 90%, oh, by the way, I didn't share this with you yet. At the end of the program, we work our tails off to get each and every single one of our GTO cadets paid jobs in the community. Not working for you, so to speak, Sheriff. If we could pull that off, that would be great too. Potentially answering the phone or light custodial work or whatever they're really good at, something that they like to do. But community-based employment, and we have a 90% success rate placing these individuals in jobs, paid jobs. Not at Goodwill, not other training programs, not sub-minimum wage. It's not going to happen for my son, nor would I want it to happen for your son or daughter. So 90% of the time, utilizing your facility for free as the training ground, we're able to place these young men and women into paid employment jobs in the community. It's the highest rate in America. There is no program, and I'll say that very, very humbly. Of course, we're extremely proud of that. But we have the highest success rate of any program in the United States. So within 3 short years, we've won 2 really cool national awards. We won the Harvard Kennedy School Innovations Award, as well as we won the 2017 Champion of Change Organization of the Year, and were recognized, last year on Capitol Hill by the National Down Syndrome Society. So we're doing some really, really cool things, but we need you. We need your partnership. And honestly, we're not really asking much of you. Are we, Hank?
It's a great thing for us.
April, we ask much of you. Open up your doors and let your facilities be the training ground to develop these young men and women. Can we, well, I keep looking at these guys, they're looking at me like I'm crazy. You got your own stuff, what do you need me for? So we're doing all kinds of really cool stuff. So what I'm gonna do is walk you through a quick slideshow, and you'll see some of the things that we're doing. If you guys have questions along the way, throw them out, because I'm just going to give you a very quick, probably 5 more minutes informal presentation. We start off each and every single day with the Pledge of Allegiance, with our uniformed GTO cadets. Why do we do that? Well, what's the very last line of the Pledge of Allegiance? And justice for all. So, one of our groups a couple years ago, I had a young man with high-functioning autism with Asperger's. He came to me, he said, Travis, he said, is it really justice for all? And I looked at this young man, he said, you have any clue how I've been treated for 25 years of my life? I said, oh my God, broke my heart. He said, I've never been included. I've never been welcomed. I've never had anything, but people keep me on the sideline. I said, what do you mean? He said, I hear people talking all the time. I'm not stupid. I'm not dumb. Why are people always keeping me on the sideline of life? And it just stuck with me and hit me like a ton of bricks. And each and every single morning, we start off with the Pledge of Allegiance for many, many reasons. And a lot of times we do it right there in your lobby, actually, with your own deputies, which is phenomenal, Hank. So what are some of the type of things that we do? Actually, I have 3 pages that are typically accepted duties that we do inside of your agencies. So, wow, what do we not do? So we answer phones, we do light custodial work, we do filing, we do organizing, we file 10 print cards, for example. We work in the jail kitchen, we work in the courthouse, we work as special bailiffs. We actually even, with some judges, they allow us to open court. I worked in law enforcement a few years. I've never opened court. I don't know about you guys, I've never opened court. But the judges are so bought into what we're doing that they want these individuals in their courtroom. So they are actually even opening court. That typically doesn't happen, guys. I don't know if you know that. That typically doesn't happen. This right here is a picture of Josh, April's buddy right there. So what is Josh doing? So Josh is working with a computer crimes detective as well as a job coach. We always supply a job coach to oversee the program. Josh is replicating CDs. Crime scene CDs. He's never even seen the crime scene. He sees the CD, and he replicates it for court purposes. Well, if you know anything about replicating CDs, You simply replicate the CDs. It's about a 4-step process, and you do it over and over and over and over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's what you do. And if you know anything about this population of kids like my own son, they thrive on repetition. So little things like that, thinking outside the box, is great ways to offer up these opportunities for these young men and women with varying special needs. And they feel a part of your agency. They work inside the detective bureau, and they're printing photos for court purposes, and they're replicating CDs, and doing some really, really cool things that empowers them and makes them feel really, really good and confident about themselves, more so than ever before. Now, this little young man on the right, April, you didn't know I was going to put you up there, did you? Looking good, looking good. This young man on the right is named Tyler. He's a young man with Down syndrome. I like to highlight Tyler for several reasons. Number one, I like to highlight Tyler because he's a young man with Down syndrome that was never offered any opportunities in life. The school system just had him kind of walking the halls of the school. They didn't know what to do with him. They told his mother over and over, what can he do? He can't really learn. That's according to his own mother. He got out of school, he entered the DAR system, the Division of Aging and Rehabilitative Services, with the vocational rehabilitative counselors who are tasked with overseeing these young men and women to get them going in life. And guess what they said to him and his family? What can he do? What skills does he have? And she said, well, none. Nobody's ever allowed Tyler to do anything. And we met for lunch one day, and I said, that's exactly the kind of young man that I want in my program. That's exactly who I've devised this program for. That young man went through our very first program. He did so phenomenally. He lost 29 pounds, had more confidence than ever before, and was last year's Self-Advocate of the Year, recognized in Times Square, New York City, for all of his work and all of his confidence and all of his things that he did to achieve empowerment, and was recognized up in New York City in Times Square. I don't know about you guys, but I've never been recognized on the Jumbotron in Times Square. Tommy, maybe you have. I don't know. Maybe you have. Steve, maybe you have. That's never happened to me. So we take a young man who honestly had nothing other than some Special Olympics activities, which were phenomenal. He didn't have a whole lot going on. And now he's more confident than ever before. He now works a job. He just moved to Myrtle Beach, actually. He's getting connected up down there. Because now they're confident knowing, you know what? My son can succeed. We have confidence in him. We know he can do some really cool things. So he was recognized up in New York City for all of his achievements and all the cool stuff that he's done. This is a young man named Chris right here. Got any Baltimore Ravens fans in here? I'm a Redskins myself, don't throw anything at me. But so this young man right here is, his brother is the backup quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, and he came through our program. Chris and Josh Woodrum, just a phenomenal family. So yeah. So what we're all about is also changing the entire culture of the way we think, the way we act, the way we perceive those that are different. And it's of nobody's fault, because trust me, if you don't have an individual in your family with a special need, you just don't. You just never had that experience. You just never had that exposure. And nobody ever faults any of us for that. So what we do is create that experience, create that exposure for you in a warm and fuzzy environment in the confines of your own department before there is a critical incident that occurs. Now, anybody know the Ethan Saylor case? So the Ethan Saylor case is the case of a young man not too far from here in Frederick, Maryland, a young man with Down syndrome that was killed in the hands of 3 deputies in a movie theater in Frederick, Maryland, because he paid to see Batman once, but didn't pay to see it twice. And it's of no fault to the deputies, and the mother doesn't even blame the deputies, which is phenomenal. It's a learning experience. And honestly, they went in there and they detained him for trespassing because he didn't pay for the second movie. And if you know anything about folks with special needs, they don't really have any trunk muscles. Most people don't know that. So no trunk muscles, and he died of positional asphyxiation because he was placed face down after being detained, and he died in the movie theater with about 100 families all around him. That should never happen. The deputies, they should never, ever have to live with that either for the rest of their lives, just like myself, knowing that that could have been prevented, knowing that that didn't have to happen. So we put together a program that we can do all these cool things together so it's mutually beneficial for all of us. That way, that never has to happen in your community. It's a win-win. Like I said, it's of no cost to you guys. What else, Hank? We don't tie up your manpower. What other little highlights, and I'm going to wrap it up.
The community is all over it.
So
People love it.
we're going to walk through a few more of these slides. I'm going to take some questions from you guys if you have any. Yes, sir.
Funding. Where do you get your funding?
So like I said, well, Hank and I had he must know some high rollers. We sat down and a lady wrote a check for 10 grand one time real quick. But we don't need that anymore because that's what we need to get going. So now I have a state contract. So I have a state contract with the Division of Aging and Rehabilitative Services that funds everything that we do. And we also operate on a lot of really big donors as well. For example, I just met with Walmart International, with Walmart Global, and their head of disabilities and marketing. And we're working on something right now where potentially Walmart International wants to put us in every single community where there's a Walmart. They got a few Walmarts out there. So I'm really hoping and praying that we're going to stay very, very busy here in the coming years because it's the right thing to do. Yes, sir.
There's a young man in their hometown. He's old. He's on the spectrum, but anyhow, he wants to be a firefighter. I've known him since he was probably in first grade. Is there any branching out in the field of fire and rescue?
The answer is absolutely. So we typically spend 1 day a week at fire and rescue. So we work, matter of fact, just yesterday, okay, one of our groups was at the Christiansburg Fire Department, and they were going around because the fire department offers so many independent living skills. If you know anything about firehouses, they do everything themselves. Their own weed eating, their kitchen, they prepare their own grocery list, they go to the grocery shop, and they cook their own meals, they clean up after themselves, blah, blah, blah. So knowing that, I started partnering with fire chiefs as well to teach those independent life skills to all these young men and women. So the answer is absolutely, and we do so. And it's been phenomenal. Great question. It's hard to see with these lights, by the way. Yes? Yes, there is. So there's a minimum age of 18. And we have been begged to drop that age to help curtail the school-to-prison pipeline as well. But I can't do that quite yet. But what we're going to wind up doing is starting at about the age of 13 or 14 with some summer programs here in the next year or so. But currently for the full GTO cadet experience for the 16 weeks inside your agency, they have to be at least the age of 18. So that people usually say, well, what's the cutoff? There is no cutoff. We've had folks, late 50s and late 40s, that literally were sitting in the basements of their homes with nothing to do for the last 20, 25 years. We brought them up, build their confidence, because we have a physical component each and every single day, and now all of those people are out working in their community, just empowered and happier than ever before.
What about those that are 18 but they're still in school? Can you do the program through the summer? Like, could you have it as a special block for those kids that are still, or for those adults that are still in that school? A lot of them can stay in school for 22.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, we probably have half of all of our kids in that boat, in that same exact situation. So like I said, we're partnering with 21 different agencies, 6 different sheriffs, 3 different universities, and we're just starting to move into Lynchburg, starting in July with Tommy and Sheriff Sloan, to include the Lynchburg Police Department, Sheriff's Office, Fire Department, Blue Ridge Regional Jail, Liberty University Police Department. So what we typically like to do in your community is not only have your partnership, but have the partnership of the other partnering agencies that takes less of a burden off of one particular agency. That way, let's say if we're in let's just say Roanoke. So we're in Roanoke, we were operating at the Roanoke Police Department one day, the Roanoke Sheriff's Office the second day, maybe the courthouse the third day, maybe in the Roanoke Fire Department on the fourth day. So it's a great way to have that partnership, and we're getting ready to do that and rocking and rolling all throughout Lynchburg, and it's gonna be phenomenal.
What do you need from us, Commissioner?
Just say, let's partner, brother. It's that simple. We got cards right here in the back. It's got my email. It's got my personal cell phone on there. All you literally have to say, am I wrong or right, April? Let's partner. Let's rock and roll. I keep it simple, and what we ask out of these young individuals is this. Number one, you come to us with a great attitude. Number two, you come to us with a willingness to try. You got those two things, we'll change your life. Thank y'all for your time.
I forgot to thank you.